Yeah, surf the beat cause the bass is bubbling. Gotta get it in before it comes tumbling down. There's only so much time to find this kind of rhyme to express my mind.
Sweet
that has ever been made will eventually
Christmas
fade like the money
jive
you made
turkeys
and
and
spend.
welcome
Nobody
to
knows where it goes or
the
when,
final
as long as we
episode
make
of
friends.
the
Cause to sleep on the street is
CageCast.
beat, so I'm hoping
Season 1 of the CageCast.
Season 1, yes. This is the end of our regularly scheduled CageCast, although I'm going to be honest with you, I have reached out to Rob, our fearless leader, about you and me working some other lines, and he is more than excited about us doing whatever the heck we're interested in doing, because he really likes what we've done here on the CageCast.
Right on.
But going into episode 13, the final episode of season 1 of the Cage, of Luke Cage, You Know My Steez. Again, I'm going to have to reach out to my good hip friend Mozz to know what a Steez is. But we
I have no idea. I imagine it was a placeholder for, shit, like my stuff,
Yeah. Oh, now I gotta tell Rob there was a bad word. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. 136, we'll say.
Geez, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. My Steez. Yeah, I'm guessing that's entirely a possibility. I was actually going way darker than that. So, no, I'll let him know. 136. There's something to be aware of, and
Nice.
he can put in a wooga there.
Or a fart noise. Can I have a fart noise?
Fart noise. I will recommend fart noise.
That would be awesome.
We'll see what he decides. He may decide that this is a adult show, an adult podcast. He may say, you know what, we get the one. It's like a PG-13. You get the one. We'll see what he decides. But I'll let him know. 1 minute 36 in. That's where we're at. Okay, so now this is great for me because Kenneth Smyson is a loyal listener to myself and Phil over on the All New Marvel Roundup as well as Super Connectivity, and he has apparently joined in on the CageCast as well, and he has written us a lovely letter, which I will now read in my dulcet tones. And Kenneth says, "What's up, you jive turkeys? I'm enjoying the CageCast and appreciate your insights into the show. I definitely agree with Mozz. I wasn't much of a fan of him," I'm guessing he means Shades, "at first, but he quickly grew to become my favorite character in the show. I think that is true of virtually everyone who's seen the show, and he is a great character. I can't remember which one of you mentioned it, but the fact that Shades doesn't have a personal investment into the drama makes it more interesting. That was me. It gives the writers and the actor, Theo Rossi, more ground to work with. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the most seldom mentioned character in Luke Cage. I'm referring to none other than Harlem itself. Compared to Daredevil, I'm actually invested into Harlem. My only reason for liking Hell's Kitchen was because I was told to, since Matt and Foggy cared about it. But in the show Luke Cage, they do so much more. Dang, my phone keeps on turning off. They do so much more. But in Luke Cage, they do so much more to show the depth of the city of Harlem, actually the neighborhood of Harlem in the borough of Manhattan. Sure, you might get shot there, but there's some interesting people there too. A great barber shop, a cool club, a good diner for a bite to eat. Have you guys been to Harlem? Are the MCU Harlem and real life Harlem comparable? Have a good one, guys. Kenneth Smyson. So, Mozz, have you been to Harlem?
A few times here or there,
Yeah,
It's great food up in Harlem. I think they do a good job of representing Harlem in the same way, the reality of the world that they live in is a little bit hyper, sort of stylized. In that same way, if you're accepting it within that same sort of metaphor, I think it does a good job of representing Harlem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm absolutely inclined to agree. Like, the one thing I would say that differentiates this Harlem from real Harlem is that if you wanted to do a story about gentrification of which really the Daredevil Hell's Kitchen story was about. I mean, Harlem is in our modern era much more subject to gentrification. You know, for what it's worth, I mean, Hell's Kitchen gentrified decades ago. You know, not for nothing. When I got to Newark in 1998, Hell's Kitchen was already pretty gentrified.
Right.
You know, Hell's Kitchen is right off Times Square. There had already been installed the Disney store. You know, Marvel had already taken over. Even before Marvel was a part of Disney, they'd already taken over Hell's Kitchen. To the extent that I remember seeing hipster sweaters saying Hell's Kitchen Knitting Circle. When I was down at a local bar down by the Port Authority. So,
see, I worked in Hell's Kitchen for about 7, maybe 8 years, and I don't know, the place still has its sort of this weird charm where you know you're in New York City, but it's not Manhattan. It's grimier, it's dirtier, it's a little bit more industrial, you know. It still has a little bit of that. I don't know if it's fully been sort of.
I do know it's like, and here we're going to get a little deep into New York real estate. It's like the meatpacking district. There is still meatpacking there. There are more than a few hookers if you want to look for them. I used to work as a driver for an escort agency down there.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. They never paid me, and so I stopped coming. And then they got ready the next week. So they are probably out to get me now because they think I probably sold them out.
Of that.
Yeah, you know, well, it was when I was young. I had just moved here. I had a car. Someone was looking for drivers. I go, well, I got a car. I can drive. Yeah. Crazy day back in the day. Anyway, you know, my misspent youth. Oh, it scares me sometimes to realize that in 2 years, in 1 year, oh my goodness, in 1 year I will have been in Market 1, as I call it. I will have been in Market 1 for a decade. In September of next year, I will have been here for a decade, and that shocks me sometimes, you know.
Hey, congratulations.
Well, I don't know if it's congratulations because it means I'm getting really old. But so this is a great episode.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is. I mean, if you're
it's a great capper to the season.
Yes. So let's get our details out of the way here. Okay. With Harlem bearing witness, Luke takes on the fight of his life in hopes of emerging as the defender, registered trademark, his city. There should be an article in there. Director Clark Johnson. Writers, of course, are, oh man, a lot of people before we even get to the people who actually wrote it. Let's see who actually wrote it. Chio Hodari Coker and Aida Mashaka Kral. Croal wrote this episode. Yeah. So we open up actually. I think we open up with the flashback. Of young Diamondback and young Luke Cage.
Carl Lucas.
Yeah, Carl Lucas in a gym as Carl Lucas as the hothead is practicing for his big boxing match against some young tough.
Right.
Which I found very fascinating. Not the least of which just because the Diamond, aside from the fact that both of these young actors were really good.
Yeah.
In fact, might argue that the young man playing a young Diamondback, let's see, do we get his name here? Yeah, Jared Kemp. And I don't want to say he's a better actor than Eric LeRae Harvey. Maybe he just had better lines offered to him.
No. He's probably a better actor.
He was a really good actor.
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, you keep an eye out for Jared Kemp. That kid's going someplace. Clifton Cuttrary, who played teenage Carl Lucas, he too has a career ahead of him. But yeah, these were great scenes, and I really loved how they played out. And really, they gave you that because there was one thing I noticed in this. Is when, you know, Willis is trying to talk Carl out of doing this fight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he says, Dad's not behind you. He doesn't say your dad.
Right.
He said, Dad's not behind you.
Right.
And just, you know, for what it's worth, shows you how in his own world Carl Lucas is. Because, you know, it's a shock to him when he finds out that Willis is his brother. But here, Willis is really straightforward, telling him, we have the same dad.
Right.
You know.
Didn't he sort of pitch it to us that, oh, it must have been something I repressed even though I did know it kind of deal? And he went through enough mental sort of, you know, torture in jail to sort of fry his brain a little bit.
Yeah. But it seems to
That's
imply
how I
that,
understood it.
It seems to imply that it was something that he had repressed even then.
Yeah. Oh. Huh.
Well, because of course, because he says it's something I repressed. And fair enough, you know, he repressed it. I would not put it squarely on PTSD from jail. I would put it on his own refusal to see his father as anything other than what he saw his father as.
Mm.
You know, as a desire to see the world differently. Because clearly, like I said, Willis is presenting himself. And honestly, man, you know what the biggest problem for me with this episode is we see Willis here, and you wonder how Willis wound up where he did.
Yeah.
You know, you wonder what exactly happened between these moments. Because here we have Carl as the hothead, and Willis is the cool, calm, intelligent one. And then this script definitely gets flipped after Willis sends Carl to jail for some reason.
Yeah, they still never really went into it, and you're right. It is a very a bit of a departure away from how they've been presenting the story to us so far.
Yeah, but it's interesting and it's fascinating, and I really liked what they did. This is, like I said, this is a great episode because this is an episode I like to call a "Let's put Timmy back in the well" episode. Because of course you get this great triumphant ending,
right,
halfway through the series.
Right.
And you're looking at how much time is on Netflix.
Yeah.
There's something's about to happen, isn't there? There's more to this story, I think.
Right.
So we open up now. We have Diamondback in his. We're gonna say it's a vibranium energy absorbing armor. Honestly, quite frankly, a pretty impressive thing from Hammer. As he says, pure Hammer tech. You know,
right.
You really get the feeling that Hammer really kind of got short shrift in that second Iron Man film. That he actually is a pretty amazing producer of weapons of mass destruction. You know, if nothing else, what we can say for Luke Cage is it really gave some redemption to the Hammer Corporation. Because this is a pretty awesome outfit he has, and it lets him go toe to toe with Luke Cage. But of course, what is the main reason for our flashbacks is that it tells us the story, as if we didn't already know it, of the rope-a-dope. which is this idea that it's an old idea in boxing, but basically it is if you have a guy like George Foreman who's a power hitter but not a good defensive guy, you put up your defense and you take all the energy, you take everything you got to give, and you roll with the punches, as they say, and so that the damage doesn't really hit you. So long as you're not trying to make the hit, you'll wear the guy out, and then once the guy is worn out, then you can attack him. And that is exactly what Carl Lucas does back in the ring as a teenager. He lets the guy wear himself out and then attacks. And now, even though we get this flashback to Willis telling him do that, Willis doesn't realize that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's so funny. It almost seems like, at some point their consciousnesses were switched or something.
Yeah, it is a weird way that, although I think what it is that, because of course to that extent, when Luke is fighting Willis in a really good throwdown, I really have to say. I mean,
yes.
it is still Hulk quality,
Oh yeah.
You
even get the little mom joke peanut gallery, which I thought was a bit much.
You know what? I go back and forth on that. I don't know if the gang hanging around them is a bad thing for the story, or just people who are just so blasé. They're like, yeah, there is this constant thing in the Marvel universe in the comic books of just bystanders just not having the sense to get out of the way. And superheroes always have to go, please leave. And they're like, no, this is why I live in New York. It's because we get to see this stuff. And it's like, really? But yeah, when the Zoftig gentleman says, he's talking about your mama. You can't let that slide, Luke.
Yeah. I thought that was a little too on the nose, a little too stereotypical. I know they're trying to be like a black show, but I don't know. I just thought that was like, oh, there's a fight happening. Let's pay attention to the fight.
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. And this is something that, hit me right in the face when they said it, and I don't think it was intentional. I can't remember who said it. I think it might have been Bobby Fish. Is after it's all over, he says, this is something people are going to remember, And it's like, but nobody remembers the Hulk utterly destroying the Apollo Theater in half this part of town 3 movies ago, It's like, no one's going to remember this, because quite frankly, we're 2 weeks away from Ragnarok when Thor comes here and smashes a bunch of stuff too. So, for what it's worth, and I think maybe even if you want to give them that level of people are aware of what they're saying, then maybe exactly what they said is exactly what they meant, which is that no one's going to remember this, although everyone at the moment thinks they will, because right now this is the biggest thing right now, but it's not going to be that big very long, and of course to that extent. As we start, as after we think Timmy's out of the well, we start to slowly lower Timmy back down because, of course, Luke Cage. So Diamondback wears himself out. I'm guessing it's some sort of a kinetic force armor, which means that when you put the energy towards it, it takes it, stores it, and then redirects it back at you. I'm guessing that's what it is. That's a thing they do in comic books every so often. Along the lines of the rope-a-dope, that's the idea. Is there's actually a secondary aspect of rope-a-dope, which is that when you do want to take a hit, you let someone take a hit in a place that you can take it, and then you use that to vault your hand. That's sort of a Tai Chi move, which is that you take the energy and then you redirect it.
Right.
And that's
I think the emotional part of it was very important too, in allowing him to be heard. This whole time, he's had so much to say, and really, in the end, it just comes down to whatever sort of gripe he had with him. He just wanted his argument heard. And if you keep sort of antagonizing him, he never gets his word out, so he never gets to feel at peace with his feelings. So if you let him have that moment to just get it all out unobstructed and just let him spew his emotion, once he got it out, maybe that venom and that piss and vinegar kind of thing wouldn't be there, and it'd be easy to defeat him because he felt like he was heard.
Yeah, but not for nothing. I really think, like I said, I kind of now want to see the teenage Carl and Willis. I want to see how they got to be who they wound up being.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, because it's like, wow, that's like it's Zeno's paradox. We have point A, point B. We don't even know how they traveled half the distance between A and B. All we know is A and B, and it's like clearly A is diametrically opposed to B. It is a 180, if you will. Anyway, so after the big fight, the
cops have their Judas guns pointed at Luke, and Misty comes and says, "No, I've got him."
Yeah. And
All
then,
right.
yeah, he dramatically surrenders because he's got to deal with what he's got to deal with.
Yeah.
And of course, the obvious point to all of this is, Luke, you got warrants.
Yeah.
Luke, I mean, I know you think you're okay, but Luke, let's not forget, you are a prison escapee. You are someone who is wanted by the police. But he goes down anyway. He makes his big statement. He gives a nice, big, flowery Captain America speech.
And I think it was a great speech.
It's a great speech. I'm not saying it's not a good speech.
And it got to the hearts of the other cops there. I mean, if only for a moment. Maybe, later in their lives as cops, they'll reflect on that moment and what it felt like, and maybe they'll do things a little differently. But I felt like it got through the cops, and the cops sort of were inspired by it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I am inclined to agree. I think that was the point of it, is that, he is presenting this different take on, his take on things, and I think that speaks to people and does establish Luke Cage very much in that Captain America mold,
Yeah.
That guy who is the leader of what will be the Defenders, and that's good. Unfortunately,
Right.
because we are slowly lowering Timmy back into the well. That doesn't amount to a hill of beans, because of course. And we get this great bit with Mariah Hillard in the interrogation room, seemingly slowly losing her marbles.
Seemingly. She's so good.
She this is Alfred Woodard we're talking about. She's not. She's a pretty decent actress, as they say.
Yeah. No, but even as the character, I'm more sort of admiring the resolve and the survivor spirit of this character. At no point is she ever out of the game, and everything's always a play. She's always, sort of got a handle on it, and she's like, I got this.
Honestly, which is why her and Shades are like the perfect
peanut butter and jelly.
Oh man, without a doubt. And I'm really interested in what their dynamic's going to be in season 2.
Oh, God.
Because you can definitely see that Mariah's doing a little flirty flirt.
That was so weird to me.
It was? Yeah. Well, I mean, not for nothing. I mean, sexual dynamics are a part of life.
Right. But, I don't know. It just seemed like such an odd combination. I didn't feel like there needed to be that dynamic between them. Unless they're going for some really, really deep level power sexual play kind of thing where she's messing with him in some respect. But other than that seemed like a really, really weird, incestuous kind of, I don't know why it felt wrong to me somehow.
Well, here's what I'm going to say. I would have felt it felt wrong if Shades did not reciprocate. But it was definitely presented in a way that Shades was like, yeah,
That's even more weird to me.
No, because it's like, oh, here's what I'm going to tell you, man. When you find that one who just completes you.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter where you're at. It's like, oh, yeah, all things, things don't always work out the way you expect them to. But you're that person I'm supposed to be with, aren't you? I mean, not to go into a lot of drama here, but me and my wife, we've been married 14 years.
Wow.
There have been times where it's like, why are we together? Who are you? Why am I dealing with this nonsense right now? But every so often, but then, we turn around and we go like, oh yeah, that's why. You're the person I'm here for. And it's like, right. Oh yeah, okay, I get it now. I see where we're going with this. And it's like, to me, it's like, the way that, and for what it's worth, the way the two actors played it, they played it in a way that made you go like, yeah, okay, I totally see that right now. I absolutely see these two are mad into each other, and they're looking forward to what their world is going to be. Because, of course, that's how we lower Timmy right back into the well. I mean, and what I'll say is they lowered Timmy back into that well way more than they've done with any previous Marvel Netflix show. So you look at the end of Jessica Jones, you look at the end of either of the Daredevils. I mean, there's outstanding issues,
right?
But in all of them, you feel like, oh yeah, this could have been the end. Luke Cage is one where they said, nah, we're not ending. We know either they felt so confident that they didn't care to wrap everything up,
right?
Or they felt, you know what, we've got to approach this as if we don't care. We're going to leave it because we're just going to jump and assume the net will appear.
Yeah, and I think they knew what they had on their hands. I think they knew they had a good show.
Yeah,
they had good writers and really, really stellar cast. I think they knew it was going to be a hit.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a strong possibility. Either they knew it was going to be a hit, or they had a lot of faith, and I think that faith was justly rewarded.
Yeah.
So, and of course, as we get in our end thing, basically we get some men in suits. I think they officially identify as FBI. Not Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's not Phil Coulson or Melinda May, which would have been awesome.
Nah.
Yeah, but we're going to take it as it goes. We take what we can get in this world. And they basically say, yeah, Mr. Lucas, you are still wanted in Seagate.
Although, I mean, there's no telling, that they were not, that they were straightforward with them saying that they were from the FBI, whatever, could have been all a ploy to recruit him.
Absolutely. They could be Hydra. And to that extent, and this is, I thought so for those who don't know, Willis Stryker and Luke Cage are not brothers in the Marvel comic book universe. They're brothers here, and people say, well, why did they make them brothers? Why did they decide to go that cliche? And of course, we get the answer when we see our good friend Michael Kostroff, a.k.a. Dr. Noah Burstein, taking young Mr. Stryker into custody.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned whatever it is that allowed this to work might be genetic. And both men share a portion of their DNA. Now, of course, not for nothing, if I'm going to be crude about this, I'm going to say that, honestly, if you're going to have superhumanity, it probably has to do with mitochondrial DNA. Mitochondrial DNA is carried by the mother, not the father. So you'd be much more likely to find out who Willis Stryker's, or, well, I mean, if you were going to do it from Louis Stryker, like who his mother had also had a child with, other than Luke Cage's father,
right?
Because you're looking for that the mitochondrial power, the mitochondrial energy production center of the cell.
Right, or rather, he would be looking for whoever Luke's mom might have also had a kid with.
Yes. Although obviously it's easier to go the patriarchal line. And of course we are still a patriarchal society, so.
Yeah, so it's just simple that way.
It's just simpler. It's an easier story to tell. Fudge the science, it works for us. I mean, it could be a Y chromosome related thing that allowed everything to work, or maybe it just would work for anybody, because if you turn the heat up that much and dip you in acid, you'll be a superhero. Maybe it's completely easily reproducible,
Yeah, try it at home, kids.
Well, don't try it at home, because this is fiction, kids, so please do not try it at home. Although it would be great if someone realized, what, maybe we just should try it with random people, and maybe it's going to work, I mean, I'm sure there's someone willing to take the risk to die horribly or get superpowers,
Yeah.
I
mean, there's
enough
creepypasta stories about, scientists who have ramshackle labs somewhere out in the West where they kidnap homeless people and do tests on them,
Yeah, although for what it's worth, I think Dr. Bernstein's back in the good labs.
Yeah.
You know, he's been in the wilderness, but I think Hydra's taking him back. They say, okay, good work, Noah. You did your best, and you came back, and you're giving us something. We're gonna give you the lab back. Because he's got all his data.
Yep.
And it's got Purple Man data on it. Let's not forget, I mean, he was most worried about his own data, but, I'm sure a lot of people are saying, we kind of are interested in that Purple Man stuff, That was useful. That guy, he had potential. So at the end of our episode, Luke Cage is going down to Seagate again. Mariah gets bounced because, as it turns out, that witness that Misty had suddenly dies. How unfortunate that was.
Right.
Yeah, because Misty lost her phone, and so the person...
Shades picked it up.
Now, but then again, our big triple reverse is that Bobby Fish finds the file with the exonerating evidence of Lucas, of Carl Lucas.
Yeah, you can't take something without leaving something,
Well, yeah, I mean, it works out evenly that way. And for what it's worth, man, Mariah totally played it. Because, Shades is like, oh, man, we lost the file. And Mariah sits there and says, okay, that's fine. Misty's not going to let me walk. I know how to handle this. And then she freaking handles every last detail.
Yep.
I mean, this is a really great production of it. I mean, Mariah knows what to do. She really is. She really is the supervillain here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, as much as we like, oh, Willis Strucker, he's got the power, or Shades, he's got the conniving. Mariah's the supervillain. She's the one who's like, no, I see the whole picture.
Yeah.
I see way beyond what you guys see. And that is something that we go back to from the very beginning, where she's like, Cornell, you don't need to do this. You don't need to get into this big arms buy. You've got money, you got the club. You could actually pursue your music career now.
Yeah.
Maybe not as a performer, but as a producer, as a writer, as a whatever, you could do that. But nope. He's in the criminal thing. He's going to do the criminal thing. And it's like, Mariah can only take you so far. And then she's got to say, fudge you all. I'm running the show.
Yeah, here's a bottle to your head.
Yes. Yeah. And of course she gets through it. And she winds up with her one true love, Shades. I mean, for what it's worth, that is just the your icing on the cake, is those two crazy kids making it work. It's like, every so often you find a true love story, I mean, you know what, man, if you want to go with sociopathic love, you always see that I want a relationship like Joker and Harley. It's like, no, you don't really want that because it's a bad relationship. Every so often you'll see like Morticia and Gomez. It's like, that's fine, but they really weren't sociopaths. They were just, they were in love and they were very different in their approach to the universe. But, they weren't bad people. If you want to be bad people in love, you want to be Mariah and Shades. That's the love you want, because that's the love that's built on mutual respect, understanding, and a desire to build a future together.
Right, but at the same time, I don't know if it's that good for business, though. I think it's going to prove to be their undoing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, of course, because, of course, what we always said about Shades, as Kenneth Smyson pointed out, was that, the reason why he's so endearing is because he's the guy who says, I don't have a personal beef in this.
Yeah, he's a pragmatist.
Yeah, I'm not trying to show myself the king of the hill. I'm just trying to get through to tomorrow.
Right.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say about this episode, Mozz?
No. I thought it was a great ending to the season. It gave us everything we wanted. It had a big fight. A lot of things got sorted out. He's still in trouble, but there might be a way out. It's exactly what you want.
Exactly. And I am so looking forward to whatever the next thing for Netflix is. I don't know if it's Defenders or Punisher or Daredevil 3. But it all is exciting. I'm still holding out that Damon Boone will be Damon Hellstrom. That's the big secret reveal later on. I do think Sigourney Weaver will be our Mephisto. But we're gonna have to see in Defenders. And I will guarantee you, Mozz and I will be back for that. And I'm gonna reach out to Rob and say, what else can me and Mozz do in the Netflix universe? Because I think there's a lot more we can do. And beyond that, you can still listen to me and Mozz talk about the Incredible Hulk over on the 80s Reboot Overdrive. And I've got stuff for us to do after Hulk is done because, there are those movies and then there are all the other 1970s Marvel TV shows that I would love to go over with you.
Oh my God. Has anyone ever done a podcast on The Next Generation?
The Next Generation of what?
Star Trek.
Oh, Star Trek? Let me tell you.
That would be fun.
There is a Star Trek podcast on the Southgate Media Network, but they have not been keeping pace.
Oh, come on. We should push for that. Yeah. How much fun would that be? Those episodes are like mini one-act plays,
I would more than happily join you with that. Although if we do that, we have to get to DS9 eventually because I'm a DS9 guy.
Okay.
I'll be honest
See, I've never watched it, so it might be a fun thing for me to do to watch that, actually.
I love DS9 and I love Voyager. Honestly, I would have to say Voyager is probably my favorite.
Interesting. Why?
Well, honestly, it's just a personal thing. When they first came out and they started talking about the spin-offs, I always said, what they have to do in the spin-off of after Next Generation, they got to go out to the outer colonies. They had to go to the place where it's not perfect, where it is this crazed, because I always remembered the rape gangs in scary thought the rape gangs that Natasha Yard dealt with on her home planet, which was an outer colony. That outside of the structure of the Federation, there were these outer colonies where things were not that perfect Federation. Hey, isn't everything all perfect and militarily structured with our perfectly cut sideburns? I said that's what they, and then they went and did Deep Space Nine. And then after Deep Space Nine, they were saying, well, what will our third spin-off be? And I said, well, you know what they really need to do? They need to get out into the outer reaches of space. They need to go back to the classic Trek of the ship that was failing and at every turn, and they had to, keep on, piecing it together with spit and baling wire, and then they came up with Voyagers. Like, that's exactly what I said they should do. So, I feel very positive. I'd like to say that I think that before the fourth spinoff, which was the Archer series, that I said they should go back to Pike. I still say they should go back to Pike. There's a lot of good stories to tell about Pike in number one.
For sure. I would love that. That would be fun.
Oh, heck. If you like Pike in number one, read Vulcan's Glory, which I believe was written by the DeFontaines, who wrote a lot of the episodes. That's a good one. So I've got a lot of things now to pitch to Rob about what me and Mozz can do going forward. And we are going to do more going forward. And in the meantime, definitely watch the GammaCast. Or listen to the GammaCast, because this is not video yet.
Right.
Although
but you can picture us in your minds.
Rob wants us to do a lot more video. Mozz, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
I don't think the camera can do you justice in your beauty and glory. He is a beautiful man. You have no idea, folks. You have no idea how beautiful Mozz Mansour is.
All right.
Honestly. Okay. So, Mozz, have you given your social media yet?
Yeah, I'm just on Facebook, but that's about it.
Yes, and what's your email?
The email is mozzmanzor@gmail.com. That's MOZZMANZOOR@gmail.com. You can use that to find me on Facebook, too.
Beautiful. And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. I have that big, long email address because I want you to really want to write me before you write me. And, of course, you can follow me on Twitter in that very easy way, at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEssesser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality. Thank you for joining us once again for the CageCast. Ladies and gentlemen, please connect with us again. Good night.